What's going on, family? Grace and peace. This is your host, Javon Blue, on the Kingdom Talks podcast, where we're going to be talking about God, business, trading, manhood, marriage, and all the real stuff that's happening out there. So listen, sit back, relax, open up your Bibles, open up your notebooks, whatever you got to do, and let's get it. Sheesh, let's go. What up? Grace and peace, Kingdom Talks podcast family. We are back with another episode in the season 4 financial series, man, whatever you want to call it, right? But it's all good. For those, if this is your first time tuning in, first time hearing about this podcast, I want to welcome you in to the Kingdom Talks podcast. And like I always say to everybody, I am excited to be sharing information with you. You know, a lot of people in today's economy want to know what's going on. Where's a podcast that got some good information for the mind, for the body, for the spirit, but also for the intellect, right? A lot of people want to know what's going on when it comes to certain things based off of their sound. You know what I'm saying? You know, so many of us be looking at the news and we like, what does that mean? What does this mean? And I feel like, the Lord put it on me to really understand, different parts of the market, different parts of the economy, and then take it back to the hood, take it back to the streets, take it back to the common people who don't want to spend time, reading fundamental analysis and all this different type of stuff. But guys, listen, man, I love it. I love knowledge. But more importantly, I love when people apply the knowledge that they obtain. So let's get into this episode. This episode is going to be about, the interest rate hikes that is going on. A lot of people have seen, Fed Chairman Powell, which is basically the image of our federal bank, what's happening with our money. For those people who don't know what Fed Chair Powell does, right? He is part of the Fed, right? The Fed basically controls money, right? They have the ability to print as much money as they want. And, they create monetary policies for our country, right? So basically they create policies pertaining to money so that we can do the whole supply and demand situation and make sure unemployment is at a good rate, and also people got money flowing, jobs are happening and all this different type of stuff. So they are in charge of monetary policies within our country, right? So I want to talk about the interest rate hikes and how that could affect, or how it's already affecting the average American today, right? Now, we already know inflation is going on. We already know that is happening, right? I would say there's two major things that inflation has hit that is literally touching every single household. And that is the prices of oil, right? I believe right now, the average oil price is about, $110, $112 a barrel, right? We do not want to see anything pertaining to oil that is over 100, but here we are, right? So that right there is kind of the average price for, a barrel of oil. Now, what does that have to do? So oil is basically part of the futures market, right? You got oil, you got gold, you got silver, like different stuff like that, right? So when we're talking about energy, we're talking about that, right? Petroleum, different stuff, right? So when oil goes up, right? When the price of oil goes up, that means that gas prices are going up as well. So when we see oil hit $114 a barrel, $120 a barrel, what happens with that is simply, and I'm not going to get too much into oil. I want to make a different episode on this so that people understand it. But when oil goes up, guess what? Gas prices goes up, right? So that has hit every household, right? Not just in America, but globally. I need you guys to understand this for those people that's like, man, Biden caused inflation. No, he didn't. Right? He did not cause inflation. Biden did not cause for gas prices to go up. It's 50-50 with that, but I'm gonna get into that on a next episode. But he's not the cause of this, this major, crisis that's happening around the world. right? I feel like non-reading people, non-aware people think that Biden caused inflation everywhere. And it's like, no, that's not happening, right? Even though Biden be wilding, he's not the cause of that. And then also food, right? So we're looking at food prices go up, right? So we see that happening. Now you're probably like, Javon, what does this have to do with interest rate hikes? I totally feel you. I understand. I'm going to get there. But I want to always address, the present situation, right? And what's hitting the minds of Americans, what's hitting the hearts of people, and it's food and gas, right? Two big contributors to the pockets of everyday working people. So when your food prices goes up and your gas prices go up, that's a problem, right? For the working class American, right? And, not just American, but the working class, right? So when we're seeing that, those are the two factors that play in our inflation crisis. Now, what I want to say is this, because I'm on this side, right? Fed Chairman Powell, Jerome Powell, if you guys want to look him up, what he looks like, what he does, and different stuff like that. So he recently, last week, just had two major events, basically two major news. He spoke with the United States Senate, and he spoke with, I forgot the other meeting, but I mean, these meetings, I sat there for 2 or 3 hours listening to both these meetings. So they're 2 to 3 hours each. And, a lot of people, all of the different, people in power from different states had questions like, what are we going to do? What's happening? So Fed Chairman Powell basically said, what the Fed did was they raised interest rates, right? They raised interest rates, right? I believe it's at 0.75 right now, right? Here's the problem with that. When it goes over 0.50, we have a serious problem, right? Because what this can do, I believe that raising interest rates can cause, it can be a huge factor when it comes to a recession, right? I don't believe that we are in a recession right now, but we could be headed into one if we do not change our monetary policies, right? So when I'm talking about that, I need you guys to understand this. They said, hey, listen, we're going to raise interest rates, right? And I'm going to play this from two different ways. The first thing is they're saying we're going to raise interest rates so that people can stop spending. Spending, right? People can stop spending, and also people can stop, purchasing or taking out loans from banks and, credit cards, different stuff like that. So Fed Chairman Powell said, hey, listen, this is what the Fed came up with. We're going to raise interest rates. And what that's going to do is it will allow the average person to be like, you know what, I'm going to hold off on trying to get that loan or, trying to get such and such. Right. So he said, listen, we're not in power when it comes to, they don't have authority. The Fed doesn't have authority when it comes to, the food prices going up and gas prices going up. That's not really their authority or their priority of what it is that they can help. So Fed Chairman Powell said, listen, what we can do is create a monetary policy pertaining to the core of, the broader issue, he had said, of this whole situation. So he said, listen, man, we got inflation going up around the world. This is what we're going to do. We're going to raise interest rates. Now, what does this do for two major things that people basically, I would say three, right? Interest rates are huge because majority of people take out loans, right? Majority of people borrow money, right? 8 out of 10 Americans are literally living off of somebody else's money, also known as the bank's money, right? So when we're talking about credit cards, when we're talking about personal loans, when we're talking about auto loans, we're talking about all of that, right? We're talking about mortgages. All of that stuff is borrowed money from the banking system, right? Now, I want you guys to truly follow me with this. So when interest rates rise, what happens is now, let's say you go and get a credit card. Your interest rate now has risen. So that means that you're going to have to pay more money, right, back. Or if you already owe money, right? This is when it gets crazy. If you already owe, like if you're already in debt with credit cards, this is going to affect you if it hasn't already. And I encourage everybody, right? I would say do whatever you need to do to pay off your credit cards as soon as possible. Now, I would have made this episode like 2 months ago and told you, but guess what? A good time to start is now, because what happened is, I was saying like by July, which we're basically there already, but by July, a lot of people's interest rates, far as their debt, it's going to increase. So you're going to have to pay more money. Why? Because the Fed increased the interest rates, and that affects your credit card payments. What it also affects is also your loans, right? So, for people that, got mortgages, right? Your mortgage rates has gone up. So what we see right now is a lot of people are hesitant when it comes to getting a home, right? So people are like, I want to hold off on getting a home right now, because two things are happening within the real estate, economy, right? Is one, we're literally seeing houses that are 150,000 in value now being sold 3 times the rate. So there, you will literally have $150,000 value home, right, selling at 380 something or $400,000 more, right? That's crazy. And then the interest rates, right? So we see a lot of that, right? When we got companies like Blackstone and BlackRock, these are $1 trillion companies that are buying up single family homes, right? And then what they're doing is buying it and then putting it back on the market. And, that's just what's going on, right? Now, that's a whole nother episode that, we can talk about. But this is what's happening with our economy right now. So if you're trying to buy a home, or if you're thinking about buying a home, right, a lot of people are like, I think I'm going to wait on that because of the interest that I would have to pay. It would literally be like the first 5 to 8 years of you living in that home, you would be paying towards interest, right? The average person get a mortgage that's, over 30 years, right? So over like a 30-year mortgage, 5 to 8 years, you're basically paying off of, interest, basically, right? So a lot of people are like, I don't want to do that, right? If you go get a car, interest rates is going up. So this is what's happening. Now let's put this all into on the board, I would say, right? The Fed thought it was best to, hey, listen, man, food's going up, oil's going up, let's raise interest rates. This is my problem with that. That does not fix inflation, right? I'm going to say this again. From my point of view, I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that. I just listen into this news, to these live, situations, and I'm hearing them, and I'm listening to Fed Chairman Powell, and he's doing a great job. But this right here, what they came up with, I just don't feel like it's going to actually help inflation. Interest rates has nothing to do with your food prices. Interest rates has nothing to do with your gas prices. It has nothing to do with it. So from my point of view, it's like, their mindset is, let's raise the interest rate, right? Let's raise the interest rates, right? And then people will stop trying to, get these big loans. And I'm like, that's not really going to fix, the issue. So I would say this, even though they're doing that, and I feel like they're probably going to come out with, another situation for their monetary policies. But I would say this has to do with, Congress as well. I believe the White House needs to be playing a huge part when it comes to the food and when it comes to the gases and, the gas prices. And, the Fed just do what the Fed can do. And right now, I feel like we are in a predicament where we need to actively get on this thing. And I don't see the White House addressing that at all. And I'm not saying that, what Fed Chairman Powell did, him and his people from the board of the Fed, what they did is going to actually help something, but at least they're doing something. Now, do I agree with the interest rate hikes? Not really, but at least they're doing something. I don't see anything happening from the White House, right? So I don't know what's going on with that, but this is what I would say to you guys. We are living in a time right now where you need to stay abreast to the information. You need to know what's going on. Right now, I would say is the perfect time. Come up with an idea and get the cash flow as a priority within your mind. Oftentimes what we do is we think that, okay, let me just get another job. Let me just do this. Yes, that's great. But it's all about positioning yourself in a perfect industry. Well, not a perfect industry, but positioning yourself in a place where money is priority, right? And information is priority as well. I advise people always, listen, get the education before anything and then take action on the education. So we are in a time right now where, listen, man, we are not in a recession right now, but we could be headed into one if we do not make a change. Now, I'm not saying you got to look to the White House for answers. I'm not saying you got to look to the Federal Reserve for answers. But what I'm saying is you should observe what's going on and then react off of that, right? And this is why, on this podcast, the Kingdom Talks podcast, we speak about financial literacy, basically. Multiple streams of income is good, right? Learning how to trade is good. Learning how to invest in a bullish market and a bearish market is good. A lot of people, what they do is they only think they can profit off of bullish markets, the market going up. That's what bullish bearish means is going down. Right. So right now we are in a bearish market, meaning that a lot of the stocks, the Dow Jones, all that different type of stuff, S&P 500, US 30 for those people who say it that way, whatever the case may be, the NASDAQ, all that stuff, boom, dropped. Right. Bitcoin going down, all this different type of stuff, bearish markets. But guess what? You can still capitalize off of that. But oftentimes a lot of people don't know that because they are not educated in that arena. So I encourage everybody, listen, get educated, find a mentor, get some knowledge and apply the knowledge. Right now is the perfect time to get information on how to increase your income so that you can create cash flow, not just for you, but for other people's households as well. I believe right now you need to focus on yourself. But once you focus on yourself, tell your neighbor, bro, tell somebody else. And if they reject it, cool, but let them know, listen, I know we see what's going on out here, but I got a solution. And I encourage everybody, listen, go out there, get some information and become the solution instead of just being the news channel that just talks about all of the bad things that are happening with the economy. Because there's another language out there called the wealthy language, and they are excited that they are in another, bearish market right now. Because why? Because they have the knowledge and the information where they can buy, so that when the market does turn around, they were in position at a very low point. So guys, listen, man, I love you guys. Stay abreast of what's happening with the interest rates. I believe they're going to raise more, right? Interest rates are going to raise more, which is going to cause a lot of people, a lot of American households to feel it. Like it's going to squeeze them so much. So if you're in debt and all that type of stuff with credit cards and loans and stuff, pay it off. Pay the minimum balances if you can, and so forth and so forth. And when we're looking at interest rates, guys, it's not so much that they're raising, it's the pace at what they're raising, right? It's how fast these hikes are coming in. That is what's messing up everything, right? So guys, listen, man, I love you. We're going to talk more about, the economy and what's going on. Next episode is going to be dope as well. So, if somebody is like, what's going on with the interest rates? Do you have a podcast talking about it? Listen, refer this podcast to somebody. And listen, I will see you guys on the other side. Let's grow. Let's go. Let's dominate and let's build wealth the kingdom way. Sheesh. Yo, what up, Kingdom family? Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Listen, I want you to hit up the block, hit up your job, hit up your family, your campus, your friends, whatever the case may be. Send them this episode. Let them know what we got going on. And I will see you guys on the next one. Let's get it.